and welcome Daniel from Colombia.
Welcome, Daniel.
Hi, nice to meet you guys.
All right.
All right. Yeah, I guess I'll get right into it. So I don't know if everyone here saw the intro thing before, but yeah, I'm Dan. I'm currently a second year student here at Columbia. I just started this past fall, actually, but I got like an advanced standing placement here, which is kind of cool. So I got to skip the first year, but I graduated from Daniels in 2019, and then I worked for a year afterwards. Got some really good work experience. And then, yeah, here I am right now in New York in the middle of the pandemic. So it's been interesting. But yeah, I guess I'll get right into my portfolio and just start showing some of my work. And then you guys can ask any questions. All right, just let me set a timer up first. Cool. So here we go. This is a portfolio that I had made when I was applying to grad schools. Like I said, I didn't apply to grad schools during fourth year. I took a year off and I worked afterwards. So I had a little bit more time to work on it, obviously. And I was working at the time, so I was just kind of busy every day working like 9 to 5. But then afterwards, I could kind of work on it every night. So it gave me like a lot of time to really go over some of my work and improve it. So yeah, this is one I had made, and I think this is one I applied specifically to Columbia with, and I think I might have applied to Daniels with the same portfolio and maybe one other school, but they were all roughly the same. Most of my portfolios, just a little bit different formatting, but mostly the same. So yeah, starting off with the cover here, you can see kept my cover pretty minimal. I didn't really know what else to put on it at the time, and I'm like, rather than putting something really out there on it, I'll just keep it really blank, a lot of white space, and let my drawings really speak to kind of the vibe that I was trying to achieve and like kind of the whole artistic identity and whatnot. So I wanted to keep, yeah, the portfolio cover very simple and whatnot. Just one other thing that you'll probably notice is I did square formatting, which is kind of a controversial thing and not everyone's a big fan of it. So I don't think I would necessarily recommend it unless you have a really strong reason. And you'll see when I get into it, the reason why I actually decided to do it is because I have a lot of really wide drawings, especially some sectional ones. And I find that they just didn't read as nicely on kind of the more like 11 by 17 format and like the tabloid ones and whatnot, because they're narrower than the one with the square where I have the full spread. You kind of have this 2-to-1 aspect ratio, which I think reads better for those really wide ones. So that was my reasoning for it. And yeah, I'll get right into it. Here you can see table of contents, very simple as well. Just kind of said the name of each project, listed them in order, and just said when they were completed. I have, I think, like the first 4 projects were design projects I did for undergrads. Then I have like a personal project in there. It's like a piece of furniture I had made. And then I have a design build project I did at Daniels. And then the final one is like a work project. So a little bit of diversity, different things going on. The way I ordered them, I decided to order them this way. It kind of starts from more conceptual, like paper architecture, more academic projects, and slowly transitions to more like built stuff. Like the final 3, the one's a table that's built, the other one's like a small pavilion that's built, and the other one is like a building I did at work. But again, there's no right or wrong way to structure it. Easy way that some people do is just chronologically. They just do like the latest project, the oldest projects to the newest, or vice versa. It really depends. You don't have to have anything. You can literally just put them in randomly, a random order. It doesn't really matter. I will say though, one of the good pieces of advice I got from an undergraduate professor was put your favorite or your best projects as your opening and your closing one. And the reason for that is because like when they're flipping through your portfolios, the grad school, admissions people, employers, anyone, they're going through so many portfolios. So they're just going to have an image of your first and last project. Like that's going to form like the strongest image of you. Like you can have a killer one for your first project. It could be amazing, but then they could go through the rest of your portfolio and it might get, if you go like newer to older projects, it might get a little bit worse as they keep going. And so like your last project in there, if it's like not a really strong one, they might leave like exit out of the PDF thing and think, oh, like the last project I saw wasn't necessarily the strongest, and that might be their lasting impression of you. So it's just something to consider. You can see right here on the right, I can have this little blurb about what I was trying to accomplish with this portfolio, I guess like a little bit of a thesis, if you will. You don't need to have this. I just wanted to put it in there just to kind of, honestly, partly was just to fill that white space and add like a little bit more to the start of the portfolio rather than getting right into projects. But I also just kind of wanted to describe partly my approach to design, which I didn't really know what it was at the time. So I was just kind of trying to articulate it. But I think it's good to kind of put some ideas out there, and it will give employers and grad school people a little bit of an idea of what your approach is and kind of what you want to do from architecture with architecture. So I'll get right into it now. Yeah, here you can kind of see this theme that I have going through most of the portfolio, where I have, yeah, like I said, these 2 square pages. And then I usually only really have 1 image per page, so like 2 images, 2 drawings per spread. And I kind of try to balance this whole thing where I have like a colorful one on one side, or like a very descriptive one that's like jam-packed with a lot of info on one side, and more of a simple one on the other side with like a lot of white space. And I kind of do this whole like juxtapositioning thing with the composition. I just find it reads nicely. And it's more just like a graphic design thing, I guess I was attempting to do to make it flow. But yeah, I would highly recommend, well, it comes down to preference. I'm not a huge fan of like these portfolios where they're jam-packed with all these small little schematic drawings and like overkill. I like keeping it simple, one or 2 drawings per page. But it depends. If your drawings are like more simple, it makes more sense to put more of them on the page, where I prefer drawings that have like a lot of information in them, and just using less drawings to tell the story of your projects. And because of that, I'd rather just use a few drawings to really convey all these ideas and keep it kind of simple in its layout because of that. Here's my project for 361. Yeah, I think this drawing on the right kind of is like a really good example of that, where I wanted to kind of sum up a lot of different ideas within one drawing. So before this, I had like all these little schematic drawings to kind of like tell the idea of this building. But here, like this one drawing kind of, it explains how the building works by kind of showing it in plan a little bit, but then it also kind of tells the story of what I was trying to do on how this building kind of connects to these different like worlds, and it kind of creates these different atmospheres and how each floor of the building is meant to be experienced. So it's trying to do a lot of things within one drawing, which is something that I like to do a lot, and like how I can kind of form that narrative through one drawing in particular. Yeah, then you see here, simple layout again, very little text, a lot of white space. So really use white space to your advantage. And if you think you don't really know how to do that, honestly, just look up like graphic design precedents. I know like as architects, we love like just looking at images of buildings, but get into like, yeah, different types of like graphic design and typography, like on Instagram, on Pinterest, things like that. Like literally just scroll through and just like absorb a lot of that and see what you like and what you don't like. So yeah, here again, this is one of those wide drawings that I was talking about earlier, where I kind of wanted this one extremely large drawing to take up an entire spread, and it worked best for my layout of like this very wide 2:1 aspect ratio. So yep, moving on, here is another project I did in 4th year. This was a large group project that I did. Well, it was a group of 4, but I only put like these 4 collage renders on the right. We did 16 of these at the time, but I only decided to put these 4 in my portfolio because these are the 4 that I had made. I could have included the other ones, but I wanted I don't know, I kind of like sticking to drawings that I had made in my portfolio rather than putting all these on from other people. But it's fully reasonable to put other people's work in there if it's part of a group project. So just, yeah, make sure you have their permission and everything. Oh, another thing I should mention. So you can see this thing. What is it right here? Oh, whoops. Down here. I'd recommend doing something like this on your portfolios, where you kind of have this description of kind of when the project's from, who you worked with, who the professor is, stuff like that. It's just, I think it's kind of advisable, and just kind of sums up the project info. You'll see like a lot of employers will do this with their work. They'll say like who the contractor was, where the project's located, what the budget is, stuff like that. So just kind of do the same for your own work. Just say like, okay, when it was completed, where it's located, is it an academic project, is it a work project, is it a personal project, stuff like that. Here's another one of these really wide drawings that I was mentioning before. Another thing too, I keep forgetting if I've said this to this breaker room yet, but I exclusively do JPEGs, and I would recommend it for these portfolios because they're almost always going to be viewed only on computers and phones, I guess. But yeah, because they're only going to be viewed digitally, JPEGs I find just make the drawings read a lot better. If you zoom in, you'll see a little bit of pixelation. But the thing is, whereas you won't get this pixelation if you do a PNG or a PDF, but the thing is, most employers and grad schools admissions professors, they're not going to be zooming in. They're going through so many of these, they're just going to be looking at them from far away. And I find PDFs and PNGs can be like extremely like heavy if they have like a lot of line weight and hatches. So personally, I think JPEG is definitely the way to go. But just make sure you do a really high quality one so it doesn't get very pixelated. So I don't know. I do most of my drawings on Illustrator, just export as JPEG, but make sure it's always like the highest quality and highest DPI. Moving on, I'll quickly try to get through the rest. This is, yeah, just personal projects. I like building furniture. I really like building things, and people told me if you like building things, that's kind of a unique thing that you bring to the design world. Not architects like building things, but like you seem to really like that. And like I worked in construction before and whatnot, so people are like, make sure you really show that in your portfolio because that's like kind of a unique thing that you can bring to it. So I recommend the same for you guys. If you have some type of unique hobby that you're really good at, some artistic thing or just any unique skills that you can bring to it, add it in there. It will kind of make you stand out from others. So it's something I'd highly recommend. I know people that put in like sewing things. I know people that put in paintings, people that put in sculptures, mosaics, all sorts of different stuff. So for grad schools, I think they really like it. Not too much, maybe one project, maybe two, but it just really shows the diversity in your interests that I think is definitely a good thing. Yeah, same thing here. This is that design build project I worked on at Daniels, which again, it was a great experience. It allowed me to kind of build something in the world, like in terms of that I had actually designed, which was really cool. So yeah, I would highly recommend the design build courses if they're still doing them. And yeah, I think for grad school stuff, it looks great to put it in your portfolio because it just shows like a different way of approaching design. So, and then yeah, I just made a quick drawing of this just to kind of explain some of the ideas. So it's not purely like built images of this. It's like you actually see some of the conceptual ideas behind it. And then just to finish off, this is the last project I had in there, which is just my the project that I built when I worked at my internship after graduating. So yeah, it's something I've been saying is I think it's good to have work experience in the portfolio, but only if it's like something that you really like design-wise as well. Like don't just put kind of generic CAD images in there just to show that you know AutoCAD or Revit. Like I wouldn't recommend that, but I would recommend like if you can have more like schematic drawings or like this, if you have built images of anything that's been built at work, that's probably a better thing I'd recommend to put in there. Yeah, so that's that. And then here's just some process images of this project under construction, which kind of shows how I worked through some things there, and I think shows a little bit more diversity in the portfolio as well. And then just to finish off, this is just my final concluding page. And yeah, here just kind of it's that similar blurb that I had at the start, just kind of summing up my approach to design at the time, this kind of form follows fun idea. And I just thought it'd be like a nice closing statement that would wrap everything all up. So I think that is about it.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. We have about 6 minutes left for questions. And I think Kristen asked a really good question because you had advanced standing, right? And that's very interesting because like I think our program, most of us can't do advanced standing. So yeah, Kristen's asking what allowed you to skip first year. Was it the work experience or school grades portfolio or all of it?
So to be completely honest, I don't actually know that answer. I probably never will. I think the work experience definitely helped a bunch, but I still don't know if that's the case because so I think there's roughly 70 to 80 people here in the MR program per year at Columbia. And I've met the other people that got advanced standing. I think there's about 5 of us, but like the 4 other guys that got it, they all have like significantly more work experience than me. And also their work experience is more technical. Like they were allowed to waive out of some of the tech classes here in grad school. They're like really good at Revit and all this different stuff. Whereas I don't know Revit and I haven't really done that type of work before. Like I haven't done like really specific CAD detailing stuff. So it's a weird one. I think the work experience might be a small part of it. And I did a lot of fabrication stuff at work. So maybe they assumed like, okay, you have some construction experience and whatnot. So they kind of thought I'd be able to skip some of the first year stuff. But I think a small part of that. And then I think, I don't know, maybe they just liked some of the stuff in it. I'm not really too sure. But yeah, it depends. Like it was all different. Because I know some of the other guys that got the advanced placement thing, they were only offered it like a couple weeks before starting. They got like an email from Columbia. It's like, hey, do you want to start in second year instead? Whereas I was notified like back in, like when I first got my admission, like I think I was notified like the next day I got an email saying like, by the way, you've been accepted for the advanced placement thing. So that might have just been like a bargaining chip if they really wanted me to come here. Like, oh, what if we give them advanced placement? Which, I mean, I think it probably was a big bargaining chip just because it allowed me to like save on like a year's worth of tuition. So
Yeah, that's interesting.
but I also don't, I don't really know any other Daniels people that got it like from my era, I guess. So I don't know. I think I was just like one of the few that somehow ended up getting it. So I don't know. If you guys can get it, I'd say like most schools give you the option to apply for it when you're doing your application. But I'd say it doesn't hurt to apply for it and see if you can get it. But yeah, from Daniel's program, I don't know how likely it is to get something like that.
Mm-hmm. The bargaining aspect that you and Jumin mentioned are very, I think I haven't heard about that before. It's very interesting as well.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing because like the two things that the schools can, well, there's like three things that most grad schools I think can use to bargain. The one of them is an advanced standing thing because you get to waive out a year's worth of tuition. The second thing is scholarships. They'll just offer you however much more depending on how, like, I don't know. I got a scholarship from them and I said like, I don't know if I can do it. It's a little bit expensive. And they actually got back to me with a slightly higher one. So that's another bargaining chip thing. And then the third thing they can offer you is some schools will like offer you like TA ships and stuff and like paid. Honestly, a lot of it comes down to money at the end of the day, I guess. So they're like, oh, we can give you a TA ship and you'll make this much of money, which will make your tuition this much cheaper. Stuff like that.
Interesting.
So, yeah. I know Columbia doesn't do the TA ship thing. I think Daniels does, from what I've heard. I think they'll offer TA ships to some of my friends that are doing landscape architecture. There were offered TA ships in like their admission letter. So
Nice. Okay, we have 2 more minutes. Does anyone have any specific questions for Daniel? If not, I'm also curious about like what grad school at Columbia is like so far.
Yeah, so again, it's weird because I've only been here during the pandemic. I only came here in September. So it's been a little bit of a weird experience, but I don't know. I actually find it's got a lot of similarities to Daniels, even just like in their whole approach to design. I think them and Daniels are like two of the more similar schools. But no, I love it here. Part of the reason I came here is because I really like some of the professors here. That was like the driving force behind me applying here. I really like in particular, I like Moss Architects and I like Work AC, and they're kind of like the higher up professors that kind of structure a lot of the program here. Like Amal Androuse from Work AC is the dean here, so it like the school kind of follows like a lot of her pedagogy. So that's kind of why I decided to come here. And like, yeah, it's amazing because I've actually had professors, or I've had courses with some of these professors that I really liked before. So it's amazing just to like learn from them, even though it's over Zoom still. But yeah, it'll be amazing when I can actually meet them in person and just like chat to them informally.
All right, thank you so much for sharing and yeah, for showing us your portfolio.
Yeah, no problem. I think I posted in the one other chat earlier. I don't know.
I could find the link. I think I saw it on Issue, right?
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna say also. Otherwise, just like if you guys have any questions, just DM me on Instagram and ask me. Let me toss in. I think
Dankitecture.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, just feel free to message me, PM me, and I'll probably get back to you when I have some time. So any questions about grad school, about portfolio, let me know.
All right, thank you, Dan. I think you're moving to room 4.
All righty. All right. Well, thanks for the questions and see you guys later.